Tom Ryan Poles says that he would like the Bears offensive linemen to get lighter and quicker. Who is he talking about specifically, and how would you interpret that message?
I mean, it could be a message that's being sent to Juan Castillo, even though he's not here when he came in. Well, I'm just saying that because, when I first had some conversations with him, and the first thing he did is he brought up is they got to be 320 pounds at least. That's baloney. That's just making an athlete a non-athlete. That's making an offensive lineman too heavy-footed. The average weight of an NFL linebacker these days is 6'2", 220. So you don't need 100 pounds more on your offensive line once they get to the second level to either be outrun to the edge when you're talking about this outside zone concept, and even, movement blocks on the inside, because it's not that you're sustaining a block against a linebacker 8 yards downfield. You're trying to get a piece of him. You're trying to put him in a predicament when he's trying to make a tackle against a guy like David Montgomery and stuff. So that was music to my ears, because when you look at some of the best offensive linemen in the history of the Bears or around the league, they're not gigantic guys. These guys are interior athletes. And so if, again, you believe what their concept's going to be offensively in terms of the running game, I'm all for these guys losing weight. When you went to the Combine and we were all first introduced to the name of Larry Borum, and they said, oh, this guy got up to as big as 350 pounds. That's too big, too slow, and not good enough for the NFL. When he lost some weight when he came into OTAs for the very first day, Jeff and I were standing out there going, wow, this guy looks legit. I mean, he's an athlete. He moves his feet well in these shorts and T-shirt practices and stuff. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good move, and I'm glad that Ryan Poles is putting his mark in the sand this far in advance, so they're not going to bring him to training camp and say, hey, you need to lose 20, you need to lose 25. No, start it now and get acclimated to it, stay in the weight room, and get stronger as you are losing some body fat.
And Tom, I have no problem with that, and I kind of felt the same way you did. But then I was thinking about it, and I thought, it's kind of unfair. I'm thinking maybe of like Sam Mustipher in particular. You bring a guy in, and he kind of bulks up a little because you're telling him to, and then now you're going to tell him to get back down, right? I mean, careers are affected by these things.
Yeah, but, I mean, did you bulk up with body fat or did you bulk up with muscle mass? And
right.
Listen, man, I have all the respect in the world for Sam Mustipher, because when Juan Castillo came in and said, hey, you got to be bigger, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be better. If you're bigger, but you're an eighth of a second slower off the ball, or you can't get into position for the difficult block of the defensive lineman that's on your outside shoulder, and you're still trying to gain position, it's tough. We've been fortunate, like some teams, to see guys, generational talents like Jay Hilgenberg and Olin Kreutz. They were undersized offensive linemen, but they dominated nevertheless. So to me, with the relationship that Sam has with a guy like Olin and spends a lot of time around him, I think they can reconstruct his body to come in here and be more competitive at the center position. So I think it's going to benefit a guy like Sam.
Tom, when there is a change in a general manager and a coaching staff, there is like a shockwave that goes through a team, and we see a lot of turnover oftentimes. And the Bears happen to have a lot of guys hitting various levels of free agency, and they're going to have to fill all these spots. But there are guys on the team that were brought in by a different administration. So there's always that wonder of, as much as you value any asset that the team used for a player, you also make your own decisions, and they're oftentimes different than the guys before you. How much turnover are you expecting in this group?
I think significant on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, you're going to have to bring in offensive weapons just because you don't have them. But defensively, when you're making a changeover on the defensive front, there's guys that are templates of specific positions. When they talk about the role and the importance of a three-technique defensive tackle,
right.
If you don't have that guy with the innate ability to be disciplined on the snap count with superior explosiveness, those guys are hard to find, but you can find them and you can develop them. So I think the right pieces need to be put in the right places. When you look at a defensive 4-3 style like the Buffalo Bills, and they have a bigger body size on their defensive line, is the body size of Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack big enough to maintain what's expected out of that defensive end position in that style of defense, or do they feel that they have to upgrade the size? And I do think it's going to, they're going to have to get an immediate evaluation of these guys. They've both, played in 3-point stances, and they understand their roles. And, if you want the offensive linemen to get smaller, do you need those guys to get bigger? And those are a lot of the questions you need to answer. And then, first of all, you better find out, where does Roquan Smith fit the best? And he's the type of guy that is going to probably be the determining factor of how you're going to set up their linebacker position, because he's got the skills, I believe, to play anywhere in any style of defense. However, that was kind of a experiment that they faced when they brought a guy like Urlacher in here, and where was he going to fit the best alongside Lance Briggs? So all those things need to be determined, and I think Matt Eberflus understands and Alan Williams understands the defense well enough that they do know what style, size, in intelligence they need at the positions to make their defense the best.
We've only got a minute left, Tom, but I was curious about your perspective on this. You know Tom Clements from way back. He's returning to the Packers as a quarterback's coach. Number one, do you think that was definitely a sign that Aaron Rodgers is returning? And are you watching this Rodgers stuff with amusement or annoyance?
Annoyance. I'm sick of him. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm tired of listening to his kind of whininess and his approach to every time he's in front of a camera. But I do believe that the reason Tom Clements took the job is there was almost a guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is coming back. Because Tom Clements at, 68 years old, is not going to come out of a multi-year retirement from the West Coast to come in and coach whomever else they're going to have at the quarterback position. So when they signed him, I kind of thought it was a done deal. And then for the head coach to go to the podium yesterday and said, I don't want to interfere with Aaron Rodgers. Bull crap. You're the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. What you say goes. And I know Aaron Rodgers is great, but it's about the whole team and not just this one guy.
That's
great
beautiful.
stuff.
Tom, you're the best. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, man.